Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going deep on this guy, John Fautenberry, an American serial killer. And you know what's so interesting about this one? Our main source is, well, it's Wikipedia. So we're basically,
Wow.
yeah, we're piecing together this whole story of like a super complex figure, all through the lens of crowdsourced information.
It really shows you how we understand these guys, these figures in the digital age.
Yeah.
We're not just stuck with like official reports or media coverage anymore. It's like we're getting this peek into how the public, like everybody together,
Yeah.
has decided to, remember this guy,
Yeah.
document his life.
Exactly. And we're going way past just the basic facts. We're going to uncover the who, the what, but also try to wrap our heads around the why. Why do you do it? So John Fautenberry was actually born on July 4th. Kind of a wild birthday for someone who ends up, bringing so much darkness into the world.
Yeah, that is pretty striking when you think about it.
Yeah.
But when you dig into his childhood, it's obvious the party stopped right after he was born. Parental rejection, alleged abuse from stepfathers,
Yeah.
always moving around. It just screams instability, doesn't it?
And there's this one detail that really gets me every time. Like, as a kid, he made up this imaginary hammer to protect himself and his sister. I mean, on the surface, it almost sounds kind of sweet, like a normal kid thing. But knowing his background, man,
Oh,
it
yeah.
makes you wonder,
Sure.
what does it say about a kid who feels like he needs to invent a weapon
Right.
just to feel safe?
It's a powerful image for sure. You almost see like this deep vulnerability, this desperate need to create some kind of safety
Yeah.
in a world that just felt like chaos to him, right?
Mhm.
And then you fast forward to his teenage years. You see that instability just explode. Stealing cars, petty theft. The warning signs are all right there.
Yeah, it seems like losing his mom in 1985 was like the breaking point. Like it just sent him spiraling.
Yeah, her death seemed to just pour gasoline on that fire. The disillusionment, the substance abuse, it all got worse. And it was around then that he became a long-haul trucker, which, in a way, was the perfect setup for his crimes. You think about that job, always on the road, crossing state lines, meeting strangers. It's almost like he was living in the shadows.
It's creepy how easily he could disappear, blend in. Makes you realize how tough it must have been for the cops to even get close.
Yeah.
Which brings us to, well, the victims. 5 confirmed murders for Fautenberry.
Yeah.
Each one with its own awful story.
His first was Donald Nutley from Texas. Just vanished while he was out target practicing. Months later, they find his remains. Just his skull and teeth, gruesome stuff. Really sets the stage for the kind of brutality we're dealing with here.
Then there's Gary Farmer, another trucker actually, killed in New Jersey. It's wild to me that he'd target someone in his own line of work. Was it like he saw them as easy targets? Or was there something more personal going on there?
Good question. Could be a mix of things, right? Opportunity for sure. Maybe he felt like he could blend in, be anonymous among truckers. What's interesting is they actually released a sketch of the suspect, in Farmer's case, one of the first real attempts to catch Fautenberry. But by then, he'd already moved on, vanished.
And then we come to Joseph Duran Jr. from Ohio. This guy offers Fautenberry a ride, just trying to be kind. And it ends in tragedy. It really makes you think about the trust we put in strangers,
Absolutely.
especially when we're just trying to help.
And the fact that Fautenberry used Duran's credit cards and his car after, it shows this wasn't just random. This was planned. This was calculated.
Then Christine Guthrie, a bank teller in Portland. She falls for his manipulation, too.
It's scary how often that happens.
He lures her to a motel and kills her. It's like a pattern of him preying on people who are maybe a little more trusting.
Yeah, it's like he could sense vulnerability.
Leaves you think twice about who you let into your life.
Right, who you trust.
And finally, there's Jefferson Diffie, a miner up in Alaska. And get this, he actually welcomed Fautenberry in, offered him hospitality
Wow.
before being brutally murdered in his own home. The level of violence is just
I know, it's disturbing.
17 to 18 stab wounds.
Definitely escalating rage.
It's like pure rage at that point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just brutal.
Yeah, it's chilling.
So, like, what finally tripped him up? What
Oh.
stopped him?
Well, ironically, it was a really dumb mistake. After he killed Diffie in Alaska, he used his stolen credit card. And that was it. That's how they got him.
So even with all his planning, all that calculated stuff, he still messed up.
It happens way more than you'd think.
Yeah.
Even the pros, the real meticulous criminals, they make dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker, the really crazy part. When they're questioning him, Fautenberry confesses to not just those 5 murders we talked about, but a 6th one too,
No way.
from way back in 1984. And get this, someone was already convicted for that murder.
Wait, so you're telling me There's a chance some innocent guy is locked up for something Fautenberry did.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It really makes you question the whole idea of justice, doesn't it?
No kidding.
This case, the victim was Richard Combs. It just shows how the system can screw up. How much do we really trust eyewitnesses? The pressure to close cases, the fact that innocent people can end up behind bars. It makes you wonder, how many other victims are out there? How many cases haven't been linked to Fautenberry yet?
I can't imagine what that must be like for that guy Michael Collier and his family, wrongly accused, locked up for a crime he didn't even commit.
It's awful. A whole other level of tragedy.
For sure.
It makes you think about accountability, right? How do we make sure the right person is punished? And how do we fix the system when it gets it wrong?
That's heavy stuff.
It is.
And to make this whole thing even wilder, Fautenberry tried to kill himself after he confessed.
Yeah, after spilling the beans.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what was going on in his head. Remorse, fear.
Or was he just trying to control the narrative one last time? So we've got this guy linked to all these murders across multiple states. A confession that throws another guy's conviction into doubt. And a suicide attempt.
It's a lot.
Seems like a textbook serial killer, right? Open and shut.
Well, he definitely checks all the boxes, right? Multiple murders, cooling off periods.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Fautenberry himself denied being a serial killer.
Really?
Yeah, he said he only killed for money. Not for pleasure, not because he enjoyed it.
Can you really separate those things, though?
That's the big question.
Can someone really do what he did and be so cold about it?
It forces us to face this messed up reality that human motivation is just complicated, especially in cases like this, where the acts are so horrific. It makes you wonder if maybe self-perception is unreliable. Could a guy like Fautenberry really believe he wasn't a serial killer, even though he was doing exactly that?
It's like trying to understand a Ted Bundy. Charming, smart, and capable of pure evil.
Exactly. How do you reconcile those two sides of a person?
Right, it's mind-blowing.
It all circles back to that nature versus nurture debate, doesn't it? Yeah, for sure.
How much did Fautenberry's childhood screw him up? Can we ever truly know what makes someone capable of this kind of violence?
That's the age-old question, right?
Yeah.
Are we born a certain way? Or do our experiences make us who we are?
I think it's always both, you know?
Yeah, it's got to be.
This mix of nature and nurture.
Definitely.
And with Fautenberry, we see all these factors colliding. The rough childhood, exposure to violence, drugs, and then, of course, his own choices. The path he chose.
Yeah, ultimately, he's responsible for his actions. So let's talk about the end of the line. The trial, the punishment. He got 99 years in Alaska, death sentence in Ohio, life in prison in New Jersey. Seems like they threw everything at him.
Yeah, he went through multiple trials, faced a bunch of different sentences, appeals, protests from the families of his victims. It's clear his actions had a huge impact and brought up a lot of strong emotions.
It's a reminder that even when justice is served, the pain doesn't just go away. The damage is done.
Exactly. There's no going back.
No going back. And then in 2009, Fautenberry was executed in Ohio. He was the end of the road for him, legally speaking. But his case still brings up so many questions about justice. Was executing him real accountability? Or just more violence? Does the death penalty actually stop crime? Or is it just revenge?
Man, those are tough questions. And the whole death penalty debate is just so loaded.
It is. A lot of strong feelings on both sides.
Not just about the law, but it's about morality, too. Our values, what we believe,
For sure.
our beliefs about life and death, it really makes you think about the point of punishment, right? Like, what are we trying to do? Get revenge, rehabilitate, protect society. It's tough.
Yeah, it's something people have been arguing about forever. No easy answers. And every case is different, every situation. But with Fautenberry, man, it's impossible not to feel the weight of those questions, you know? His childhood, the damage he caused, it all just adds up.
You know, going through all this with you, I keep thinking about what if, you know? What if someone had stepped in, helped him? Could any of this have been prevented?
That's the question, isn't it?
If there had been interventions earlier, support systems, could he have turned out differently?
It's impossible to know for sure, but it's worth thinking about. What if those early signs, like that imaginary hammer, the stealing, what if people had seen those as red flags? Like he was crying out for help.
Exactly.
What if there had been resources, you know, to deal with the trauma, the addiction?
It makes you think about mental health services, community programs, early intervention. Are we doing enough as a society? Or are we just playing catch up after the fact?
That's the key, I think. Fautenberry's an extreme case, but it shows how everything's connected.
Mm.
We can't just punish people after they do terrible things. We need to build a world where people are supported, where trauma is addressed, where people can get help with mental health.
That's a good point. It's on all of us, isn't it?
It is.
To be more aware, more compassionate, more proactive, you know,
Absolutely.
so that these kinds of tragedies are less likely to happen.
I'm with you on that. It's about realizing that everyone has a story, that even the people